So the theme here is that the dark cannot exist without the light because it
Uh-huh.
cannot create.
Correct.
It needs to feed. It's like
Mhm.
a hawk or a reptile or a scavenger or something else, a carry-on feeder,
Mhm.
something that survives off of death, that eats dead animals
Right.
or exists.
Carrion and something.
Yes, exists off the refuse of life itself. Now,
Sure.
if you look at this objectively, we can realize that in biology, it's absolutely necessary.
Mm-hmm.
We have to have a cleanup crew. In other words, you have to have decay
Yes.
and destruction.
Mm-hmm.
And in the Hindu religion, they call her Kali, the
Mm-hmm.
goddess of death.
Mm-hmm.
If I've got that right, I'm not I'm not really good at that. So if I'm
Mm-hmm.
wrong, I can correct myself later. But there has
Sure.
to be a destructive force to counterbalance the creative force in order to have the dynamo that
Mm-hmm.
powers the universe.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just straight physics. But the problem is when it becomes actual,
Okay.
and then people have a problem because we live within a system where do you want to be dead? No. Do you want to be carrion? No.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, how can we deal with this situation? Well, it's a matter of choice.
Right.
And choice requires conscious awareness.
Sure.
You have to know what's going on.
Yes.
And if you don't know what's going on, what happens? You become
You can't
road
make such
you become
you can't make
roadkill.
such decisions, right?
You become roadkill.
Right.
You're just another statistic on the highway, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's the difference between ignorance and knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Those that are ignorant are doomed to be just part of a recycling system
Right.
without their say so, which is part of nature. It's
Yes.
not good. It's not evil. It just is.
Mm-hmm.
And those of us who are able to become educated and aware,
Mm-hmm.
we can choose to step away from that. We don't have to partake in our own destruction. We can thrive. We
Mm-hmm.
don't have to become dragged down by temptations like addictions,
That's right.
like hatred,
Mm-hmm.
like envy,
Mm-hmm.
jealousy, all the seven deadly sins as they are called.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
We don't have to do that because we have free will.
Correct.
Now, given that situation, how can we make sense of what's going on in the world today? Politically,
Mm-hmm.
spiritually,
Mm-hmm.
financially, at all levels.
Mm-hmm.
Is it an accident what we see unfolding around us? Is it just some random circumstances that we're in today? No.
Nope.
No. Everything going on at the macro and the micro level is a
Mm-hmm.
direct result of spiritual and conscious choices
Mm-hmm.
made either individually or collectively.
Right.
As above, so below.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about this situation? Do you feel as like you're a victim, or do you feel like that the conscious decisions you make for your family and for
Mm-hmm.
yourself
Mm-hmm.
become reflected in a positive reality or a negative reality for yourself?
Well, in my case, my decision I made for my family has
Mm-hmm.
ended up in resulted in a possibility.
Well, can you objectively stand back and look at your life right now and see it as somewhat more positive than perhaps other people you know are going through?
Uh, Yes, yes, of course.
You seem to be less afflicted with medical problems. You seem to be less
Indeed,
less afflicted with fear,
indeed,
less afflicted with confusion and hopelessness.
and also less afflicted with intimidation.
Exactly. In other words, you're more free. And could
Mhm.
it be that that situation is a result of conscious choices you made? It's not an accident.
Correct.
In other words,
Hmm.
there is a connection between above and below, and the above is our mind, and the
Hmm.
below is our physical reality.
Right.
Now, if that is true, and I think you would agree that it is,
Hmm.
then what we're dealing with is a situation where there could be, and I think there are, negative entities which are trying to influence us collectively to
Hmm.
create a negative reality that feeds them. A
Sure.
a dias you know a dias a negative reality which creates fear, which they can
Hmm.
feed from, which
Hmm.
gives them energy because they cannot create themselves.
Hmm.
And that if they can convince us that we're all going to die, we're all going to be in hell, that we're all evil, that we've all sinned, that we're all everything's going to be terrible, then collectively, if
Hmm.
above so below is a true mechanism, then
Right.
collectively they would like to induce us into creating this negative reality. And the best way to do that is to frighten us, fill us with fear,
Hmm.
terrorize us with another pox,
Hmm.
make us fear that we're going to starve, that we're going to have a war, that we're going
Yep.
to, be in some kind of calamitous situation, because that is what they want. And the only way to combat that is to simply refuse
Correct.
and to see what's going on and not to become a victim of it.
Hmm. Hmm.
Now, let's talk about practical examples.
Sure.
Is there food in the stores?
Oh yeah.
Yes. Are there people starving in the streets? No.
No.
Are we dying
No.
of climate change?
Negative.
Has the death rate increased because of COVID for the last 3 years?
Negative.
Do you know anybody with monkeypox? No. All of this is a chimera. It's a false negative reality which they're desperately trying to impose on our consciousness. And it's a
Hmm.
complete, utter lie. None of it's true.
Hmm.
There's no objective reality to any of that.
Right.
And yet we live in a world of lies that are pumped into us constantly by our media. So
Hmm.
what's the greatest enemy to our happiness, to our health, to our the expression of our free will? The greatest enemy is the control of the information channels that reach us.
That's right.
That
Just known
is the
through the
enemy.
media.
That is the enemy, the true enemy of the people.
Right.
Now, how did we get into this situation? Here I'd like to branch out for a little bit into galactic history.
Hmm. Hmm.
Every race
Hmm.
has undergone biological evolution and spiritual evolution in a nursery type environment called planetary existence, whereby we start out maybe as a simpler organism in a simpler biological state. It could be
Hmm.
an amoeba. It could be a blade of grass. It could be
Hmm.
a higher mammal. It could be a dinosaur. Or it could eventually be a primate and maybe even a human, as we know
Hmm. Hmm.
humans. In other words, a fit vessel in which evolution can express itself. And if you believe, as I do, that the end point of physical existence is spiritual evolution, and that physical evolution is simply a mechanism to achieve higher consciousness. And you don't have to believe as I do, but if you do believe that is true, then there could be those who would wish to harness that process for their own selfish purposes.
Of course.
Now, we live in a universe with millions of billions of planets and suns and stars, and that's just our galaxy. Not even talking about the other galaxies, which we can see with microscopes. They're there. I mean, telescopes. They're there. We can look at them. We can see them. So it's ridiculous to think that we're alone in the universe. It's also ridiculous to think that we're the highest expression of evolution in the universe, given the age of it. So it could very well be that there are those, both positive and negative, surrounding us that would like to help us, and also those who would like to hinder us.
Of course.
Now, where did we come from? Who created us? I'm not going to, get into that right now because it's not necessary in order to prove the concept that we were created in order to evolve.
Mm-hmm.
But there are some rumors, and one of the rumors is that our system of stars and planets in this area of the Milky Way galaxy were a nursery that was protected by a very strong fence designed to keep out undesirable elements that would like to interfere in our garden. And it's not necessarily evil. It's just like, the deer that surround your garden and get through the fence to eat your vegetables. I mean, it's not that deer are bad; they're just hungry. But it could be even more. It could be nefarious. The ones that come and want to actually tinker with the genetics of your vegetables. Well, that's an unwarranted interference in the evolution of our life, isn't it?
Yep.
And it could be for whatever reason. Who knows? The point is that if such a thing was possible, and we do know that DNA alteration is possible because we ourselves can do that. It's called CRISPR, the CRISPR technology whereby we can do gene splicing. So it's well known that can happen. And could it be that our creators put us in an area which was fenced off and protected from that kind of influence? But that something happened. A leak developed. The fence got poorly maintained. A crack or a breach was formed. And that we've been invaded. And we've been invaded and we've been influenced inappropriately, illegally, in a negative way that's caused us pain, suffering, trauma, and extreme negative hardship and blight to the point where we are in a battlefield situation on this planet at this time. Now, if you don't want to accept the scenario that I've just described, that's fine. If you'd like to prefer to feel that we're all human potentials of light and love and extreme, happiness, and that we're able to overcome all adversity just with those powers within us, I would say that you're also correct. Both are true.
Yep.
Because we live in a bipolar, positive and negative influenced universe.
That's right.
However, there happens to be a situation right now where it appears that we're at a turning point. A turning point in a grand cosmic battle between positive and negative that seems to actually have a focal point on our little garden planet here called Earth. How did it happen to be that way? I have no idea. Do we deserve to be going through this? I don't think so. Is it legal or against cosmic law? Probably. Is it a product of our free will? I don't think so either, but that certainly might be a product of our ignorance.
Most likely so, yes.
And we're stuck with a
Mm-hmm.
traumatic situation where our very children, our very life essence is being harvested, I feel, and being taken from us and sold to the highest bidder.
Yep.
And we have to put a stop to that, and that's the essence of the struggle that we're in right now. Now, I've talked in very obtuse terms. I haven't mentioned names. I haven't mentioned alien races. I haven't mentioned anything because, and my reason for that is because those with ears can hear.
That's right.
And those without can never be convinced, no matter what details you bring to bear.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm talking this way on purpose because I don't want to exclude anybody's experience and anybody's knowledge, but I do want to resonate with anybody's understanding
Mm-hmm.
of our situation. And I believe very strongly that if we look around us at the political situation on the world, the fact that our leaders are falling like flies, the fact that
Mm-hmm.
we're in a complete social reorganization on the planet Earth geopolitically,
Yes.
that if anyone looks at that, they can see a direct correlation and connection with my previous comments. And that resonation of, shall I say, a energetic change or an energetic flip from negative to positive is what we're living through right now. And you can look around you, and if you see it in those terms, you can translate the chaos that is before our eyes and ears into a recognizable pattern of liberation
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
freedom for us all.
Yep.
Stop.
Mm. Wow,